This is Thriving Chiropractors, where chiropractors supporting chiropractors and talking to chiropractors that are thriving beyond the four walls of their practice.
This is Dr. Austin Cohen with Thriving Chiros. Welcome to Season 2. And we're so excited because Season 1, man, we really appreciate everyone who's been reaching out and the feedback and the comments we've gotten on a lot of the great guests we had. But this season is cool, and I love it because we are doing live from LVE, where we are basically having guests and friends of ours and some of the alumnus come out, and some of the speakers as well come out and really just share with us some of the stories and the journeys that they've been through. And so today, I'm honored because not only do I have a colleague here, but I actually have a good friend who's on our podcast today. And this is Dr. Aryn Gabai from another 2009 grad, just like myself. So welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So, one thing, and I prepped Dr. Aryn for this, where, we don't go straight into the story of give me your life's journey and how you got here, right? And what matters to us is we do a lot of tactical conversations in these podcasts that we do.
Sure.
And so we kind of just go straight to the jugular, man. And, the first question we ask, and I think this is such an important one because so much information comes out from this question, is, if you look back, you've been a practitioner for 15 years. If we don't include like all the times you worked for your dad, who's a chiropractor as well before that.
Yes.
If you go back 15 years and you think of one or two pivotal moments where you think that was a moment that defined my career, whether it was like you went through a really hard time, whether it was a transition, whether it was a relationship, whether it was a book you read, a podcast, a speaker, like whatever it was, we had people on here, there was a hurricane that took out their practice. What could you share as a pivotal moment you would say in the last 15 years that have happened that has transformed who you are today?
Well, I want to start with just acknowledging the fact that chiropractic didn't start as a profession for me 15 years ago. It started when I enrolled in 2006 at Life University. And my pivotal experiences started at Life University. As you remember, we had a lot of shared pivotal experiences in just being on campus and the transformative experience of becoming a chiropractor, whether it was in the enterprise weekends. For me, one of the really transformative experiences was in 2009, I did an internship at the World Health Organization in Geneva, Switzerland. And that was like the capstone of my chiropractic education and transfer into my career. And just kind of seeing that organization from inside of it and what a global operations of a healthcare system look like, or really it was just disease and sick care and corporate buyout of healthcare on a really large level. That was hugely influential to me because it defined the real struggle that I knew I was going to have, which was actually teaching people to have the mind share of a true healthcare approach and then putting chiropractic in it. So it wasn't even just like, hey, here's chiropractic. It's how do you approach the world? And so I would say one of the more pivotal experiences then as a practicing chiropractor, I took over my dad's practice. I practiced as an associate of his for a bunch of years. And then I took over that practice and I practiced, if you will, in that model for a bunch of years. And it took me about 10 years to really start to get to the how do I want to practice amongst all the other ways in the world. And I shaped my own approach to chiropractic, having studied many different techniques, having worked in it long enough, been in it my whole profession. And so even just learning to define chiropractic in a way where I was delivering on not just the results of chiropractic care, but the life transformation that is possible when you start to open your mind to something so much bigger than just getting adjusted, but how that adjustment integrates you and all the things that you do together in life, and then actually packaging that as a thing you could buy in a certain care plan, and all that takes a ton of work and effort, and that has transformed how I even relate to people on a day-to-day level. That I would consider the recreation of what I have to offer for humanity as probably one of the biggest transformative experiences. I mean, you could talk about hurricanes, you could talk about pandemic, you could talk about, having to work with my dad as a boss of my dad. There's all these things in there. But I think really transforming what I'm able to produce as a result for people in this world, that's been one of the most powerful things.
Hey, let's go back. So you said that when you took it over, it kind of shaped like you as a chiropractor, like your maybe vision was a little bit different than his, maybe, or just but what were some of the things that, if you could share, like some of the things maybe you did, or some of like the beliefs maybe you had while you were with him that you had to break through in order to kind of get to that next level?
Well, so one of the things that really made a difference for me was was wanting to be able to have the space and time to cover the conversations on a visit by visit level. And that was just kind of not the model that we were working under. We had, if you will, 3 to 5 minutes scheduled for a patient, and then they were doing some prehab or pre-work or post-work. And then really that small amount of time, one of the things that I really found is that I wanted to talk with them more. I wanted to interact. I wanted them to get that light bulb moment. And so when I really transformed my practice, I had to go out and network. I had to leave all these pieces because the thing I wanted to do more was teach them more. I wanted to spend time answering those questions, actually getting that moment of, wow, this thing, I could live my whole life and look at the rest of my life differently if I just learned something more about myself. And I just didn't find the space for that in the way that we were running a practice. But I didn't really know that until I went and did it a bunch of years and said, hey, wait, there's a thing missing for me. And there's a thing that's really, really important for me. And that thing became so important for me that I actually left private practice and now I teach at a chiropractic school because that is really where my passion is
So you're teaching at Sherman now?
I am teaching at Sherman.
And it's interesting, your journey though, man, to talk, literally you're talking about how your favorite thing to do was educate and share. And then it's you knew that though, but it was 2014, 15, 16, 17, whatever. And now here we are 2024. Now you're actually in education.
That's right.
Which I love, by the way. And I've told you this 100 times, the students need you. They need people like you, man, to be teaching them. I love it. You've been the experience. I love it. It makes me so happy to know there's people like you out there that are in the education right now, by the way. Well, what are some things when you think of, I'm sure you thought about this before, right? You're going into now teach at Sherman. I'm sure there's a thing in your mind, all right, these are the concepts I would love to impart on these students. There are certain concepts and philosophies you probably have. And when they graduate, if these students knew that and had that information, they can be so successful and make an impact with this profession. Do you think about some of those concepts?
Well, I am new in the chiropractic educational world, right? So I have to really kind of put a little buffer around that and say, here's what I've learned so far about this. One thing that I find incredibly important is that people understand at least 3 different techniques. They have an upper cervical technique, they've got a tonal technique, and you've got a structural technique or a postural technique of some sort. Because at least in those 3 models of understanding, you can get such a spectrum of understanding of what your peers doing or what's possible in doing, what you really love. And I think especially from a chiropractic educational perspective, while you are in school for just this little period of time, at least get 1 in each of those categories would put you in a really great place. But I think a thing that really, it's more difficult now for a lot of ways, but one of the ways I think is that there's so much information to be learned that your why becomes more important. It's not just what you learn anymore. And there's so many great classes and there's so much to learn. How many credit hours and how many tests did we take and how much do you that really retain? But when you get an understanding of a why am I making this adjustment? Why am I giving this care plan recommendation? Why am I taking on this patient? Why am I telling this patient to come back? There's a why element that isn't really something taught in a class. It's a part of who you become. And so really I think chiropractic education is 2 parallel things, and we learned this in school when we were doing this. There's what you do in the classroom. That's 50% of it. You got to really do that or you can't become a doctor. But there's also this, who do you become in the process of becoming a chiropractor? And that is a personal journey that can really become of, why would you want someone to go see a chiropractor? And I think the development of that why on a chiropractic educational level, it's not a thing that we could teach someone. We could teach you anatomy. I can't teach you your why. I can show you the doorway. You're going to have to go through it yourself.
Yeah, I look back at it, as you share this, I'm thinking about what did I learn when I was in chiropractic school from an education standpoint. And you know what I remember? I remember the stories the chiropractor shared with me. And through that time and through those stories, that's the type of stuff I feel that shaped my why. And I look back and it's you're talking about technique. I think of if I was going to teach, what would be something I would want people to walk out with? And to your point, if they have the technique, if they know their why, then they'll never really burn out if they can maintain a strong, burning flame on that why. But also if you're strong in your technique, you have confidence.
Yeah.
And confidence breeds success. If you have confidence, you can do anything. You can sell it as much as you want as a care plan. You have confidence, of course, in your technique of chiropractic. You know it works. And you're willing to sell care plans and or whatever it is you need to do, right? Have this conversation with people. What are you seeing now, man? Are you seeing, is there a lack of confidence? Or Are students more confident now than they've ever been before?
Students are just different now than they've ever been before. And you probably have some prospective students or some current students that are listening to this. I would say that the academic environment is more challenging than it ever has been before. I mean, for us, it was you had the physical books around. They didn't have the physical books. We carry most of the stuff on an iPad. You do a lot of things through videos online. If you're not a person who learns online well, I hope you find a study group to get through it. So there's a whole different set of tools of what it means to actually get through something so comprehensive at chiropractic school. But the thing that still rings true is that these schools are full of people who are passionate about teaching others. Like, that's what brings me to Sherman. It's certainly not the pay. It's certainly not the impact that you get when you're adjusting people. I mean, patient care is amazing. I don't want to just say that, education is the only thing. I love adjusting people. It's a phenomenal, transformative experience for the patient and for me. To give away all that and to go work with students is really because I love that. And so to be in an environment surrounded by administrators and staff and faculty and all these students with a singular mission is to really make sure that chiropractic continues to burn bright as the only one who works with vertebral subluxation, who's really this master of learning how to allow the nervous system to evolve itself, to expose itself, as compared to us control it or tell it what to do. Like, that type of involvement, teaching a student to become the master, not do this to be a master. It's a very different thing than what most people expect from an educational program.
It's, so let's go back into, because I want to bring this conversation actually back a little bit.
Sure.
I want to go back to this why conversation, because a lot of this is like tying into that, where for example, if I went to the doctor right now, the doctor said to me, hey, Austin, you need to only eat raw vegetables for the rest of your life because you have stage 4 blank, and if you don't eat raw vegetables, then you will die. I would change my diet to eat raw only for the rest of my life. But my why is like, I want, like, I am so emotionally connected to like walking my daughter down the aisle one day. Like, I am like I almost get tears talking about, because like I'm so emotionally connected.
I know, man.
Like, I am so emotionally connected to like my kids and like experience and moments with them. We have date nights regularly. We do one-on-one trips every year. My wife and I want to travel when my kids graduate from school. Like, there's experience and moments that we want to live for. And it doesn't have to be like, people always think of it has to be these like lavish and like crazy things, which it really doesn't. Like, literally just my kids graduating school and be able to go for a walk with my wife every morning around a park would be like a great experience. Yeah. And so the why is strong. And can you share, I'd be interested to know and hear from your perspectives, like, how do people find like their purpose? Like, how do they find their why? And how do they get clear on it? How do they build it to build that flame, to make it stronger? Because if it was strong enough, the action would follow behind it, and there would be a purpose. But like, what are some things you could share behind this?
Well, so the study of how you find your why is a thing of many YouTube videos, of many celebrities, of many different opinions throughout many different years. I mean, John Maxwell, is
Simon Sinek.
Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
I mean, we could go on back and forth, probably name a bunch of people who will teach all classes on this. One of the things that I say in a chiropractic realm that might be helpful is, I've been recently exposed to this thing called a neural transduction theory, which is that the brain itself is a two-way or bidirectional transducer. We have an interface with an immensely intelligent force inside of us that only wants 100% good for us, right? When we heal a cut, how do we heal it? Okay, or like as best as we can? Like, as best as we can every time. So the innate intelligence in us wants the absolute best for us at all times. And so B.J. Palmer, in his writings, comes along and eventually starts talking about we, not just me anymore, but we, him and the innate intelligence of his own body. And so I think somewhere in our why, when we go deep enough into the interface of that power primordial in us of positive good energy, there are things that when we do them or when we speak to them or we start to just like get involved in it, it brings out that juice. The more that we can cultivate that practice, the more tangible the why is. So when you do it, it evokes a really deep response in you. The field of you knows, no matter what I do, this why is there, because it lives in much more than just your neocortex. It lives in every part of you. as does your innate intelligence. So I would say in the chiropractic world, really tying into who I am as an expression of my innate intelligence, if we can find how that interface is actually something that lights us up, man, doesn't matter the age or the capacity, I'll find a way to adjust a person.
And what are there any like exercises or mind tricks you have for people to like, if they're like, I don't even know where to start with that?
I mean, I would say listen to Joe Dispenza. We were listening to Joe Dispenza this morning, and he's amazing to go into something like that. Meditation and the correct meditation practice and the teachings of those. Those are some ways. There are many ways, and I don't believe there is one way. You know, one of the things that you and I did when we were in school, we did these retreats where we would have different students be leading groups on things that have worked for us, time management or team building or communication and stuff like that. And in these practices, what we were really attempting to do is bring out something in each of these people that they say, wow, this meant something to me. See, if you only got one thing from that weekend, it was worth it. Right? And so in all the practices and our explanations of how do I connect to innate intelligence, how do I know that that vibrationally is true in my life, the answer is you have to participate. You got to go do it and find enough of those things for what resonates for you. Because we are our own unique matrix. There's not one thing that works for you. Your one diet and my one diet, no way. Your exercise routine and my exercise routine, you know, we're totally different, right? And that's great because actually the universe wants diversity. The universe wants innumerable different experiences, but we all have the same core principle.
It's so funny. Like, and our season theme, by the way, is live from LVE. And literally, Dr. Dispenza this morning was talking about this all morning, which is unbelievable. Now, the last question I always like to follow up with is this: is if you could go back to 2009 and Aryn Gabai is walking across that stage, taking Guy Riegman's hand, but the 2024 version of Aryn Gabai is on the other side of the stage. What would that 2024 version of Aryn Gabai share with that 09 graduate to help him out?
The 09 graduate in me. One of the things that I would really ask myself is to consider that my process of how I deliver adjusting, the process of how I communicate adjusting is so small compared to what it can be. To like really refine the communication skill, the connection skill, and just keep working on that. And that was like a path I was already on. So I have a few, tidbits that I've learned for the previous versions of me. But there's this really interesting where we get to a certain point where like, I've graduated, now I know this. Or like I've practiced 15 years and so now I have this type of mastery. And one of the really crucial elements that I've been able to deduce from people who I would consider to be really true masters is you're never done learning. You're never actually at that point of expertise. And in fact, the more expert you become, the more you realize how much there more is to know. And I think one of the traps that we get into is really thinking, well, I have found my way. And then we forget that we change, and then that way becomes stale, and it becomes a prison, and it becomes now my shoulder blows because I've done the same move for 30 years, when it could be a dynamic that constantly changes as long as that pursuit of more and deeper understanding is there.
And if people want to connect with you, where would they go to connect with you?
Facebook's a really great place. That's the one constant in all of my social media. I have a very interesting spelling my name, Aryn Gabai, so I'm pretty much one person in the world. If you Google me, it's easy to find.
And we will put your, if it's cool with you, we'll put your Facebook profile in the show notes. Is that great?
That's fine.
Hey, thank you so much for doing this today, Dr. Gabai. And thanks so much for season 2 of Live from LVE.
It's a great time.